Donald Trump's transition team is showing signs of panic as they prepare for the Senate confirmation process of their cabinet nominees. Over the weekend, Trump's co-campaign manager, who is set to become his chief of staff, sent out a memo to the entire staff and all cabinet nominees. The memo explicitly instructs them to refrain from posting on social media without prior approval from the Trump team. While the campaign insists this directive has nothing to do with the ongoing internal strife within the MAGA movement, what some are calling the MAGA Civil War, the timing raises eyebrows. According to the campaign, the memo is purely about preventing nominees and staff members from making public missteps that could complicate their confirmations. But the deeper implications cannot be ignored. The memo, which reiterates a previous warning, reads, "While this instruction has been delivered previously, I am reiterating that no member of the incoming administration or transition speaks for the United States or the president-elect himself. Accordingly, all intended nominees should refrain from any public social media post without prior approval of the incoming White House counsel." By narrowing the approval process to just the White House counsel, which in this case is Alina Habba, the Trump team is placing a tremendous amount of responsibility on one individual. If someone like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants to send a tweet, it must first go through Habba for approval. This policy undeniably resembles censorship, particularly for an administration and political movement that has railed against supposed censorship by big tech and the Biden administration. Conservatives have long complained about being silenced online, yet here we see the Trump team imposing strict controls over its own members' speech. This raises serious questions about hypocrisy and inconsistency within the movement. The memo effectively muzzles Trump's appointees, preventing them from speaking publicly without a stamp of approval, which directly contradicts the MAGA ethos of free speech and transparency. Despite the campaign's attempts to downplay the connection, it's hard to ignore the role the MAGA Civil War might be playing here. Infighting within Trump's base has escalated in recent weeks, and the memo could be seen as an attempt to keep these internal disputes from spilling into public view. However, the broader concern may not be about optics alone. Instead, it appears to reflect a profound lack of confidence in the competence of Trump's picks. Several of Trump's nominees, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and others, face an uphill battle in the Senate. The Trump team likely wants to avoid giving senators any additional ammunition to derail confirmations. Yet, the need to micromanage their social media activity only underscores the fragility of these candidates' positions. In Trump's first administration, he famously promised to hire only the best people, a claim that often came under scrutiny as high-profile scandals and resignations plagued his tenure. Now, despite repeating that promise, the transition team's actions suggest otherwise. If these nominees are truly the best people for the job, why is there such a lack of trust in their ability to communicate publicly without oversight? This lack of faith raises larger concerns. If Trump doesn't trust his nominees to handle something as simple as a social media post, why should the American public trust them with critical responsibilities like national defense, public health, and intelligence? After all, these positions require individuals who can think independently and make sound judgments under pressure. The Trump team's memo casts doubt on whether these nominees possess those qualities. The move to restrict public statements isn't just about avoiding embarrassing gaffes. It's also about control, tightening the reins on messaging to ensure discipline during a volatile confirmation process. But such heavy-handed tactics can backfire, creating an impression of weakness and disarray rather than unity and strength. Moreover, the memo highlights an ongoing contradiction within Trump's political brand. His movement has built itself on anti-establishment rhetoric, railing against censorship and governmental overreach. Yet, here we see the Trump team engaging in precisely the kind of top-down control they claim to oppose. This hypocrisy could alienate some of Trump's most ardent supporters, particularly those who value freedom of expression above all else. It's worth noting that this is not the first time Trump's team has tried to control messaging. During his first administration, efforts to clamp down on leaks and unsanctioned statements often backfired, leading to even greater scrutiny and distrust. The new memo suggests Trump hasn't learned from those experiences. Instead, his team appears more concerned about protecting fragile egos and insecure nominees than fostering transparency and accountability. The stakes for Trump's transition team are undeniably high. With Senate confirmation battles looming, they cannot afford any missteps. Yet the strategy of silencing nominees may do more harm than good. By treating their own team members like liabilities, they risk undermining confidence not only within their ranks, but also among the public. Ultimately, this memo is not just about social media. It's a reflection of deeper insecurities within Trump's administration. It signals a lack of preparedness, a fear of internal dissent, and an inability to fully trust the people they've chosen to lead. And for an administration that prides itself on strength and decisiveness, that's a troubling sign. As the confirmation process unfolds, the Trump team will likely face more questions about their choices. If these nominees can't be trusted to post a tweet without supervision, how can they be trusted to make decisions that affect millions of Americans? That's a question the media and the public should continue to press. In the meantime, this episode serves as a reminder that actions speak louder than words. Trump may claim he's assembling the best team, but his actions suggest otherwise. And if his own team doesn't trust his picks, maybe the American people shouldn't either.